In 1998, Hideo Kojima, alongside Konami, released Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation, and basically solidified the stealth action genre, no pun intended. The game had a captivating story with superb writing, beautiful graphics, cinematic cutscenes, with no other game coming close to what it offered. 6 years later in 2004, Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes was released for the GameCube. It was a complete overhaul of the original, using the engine from Metal Gear Solid 2 with updated graphics, new cutscenes, improved movement, the ability to shoot in first person among other changes. Some fans of the original were not entirely happy though with this new version. This is the version I decided to play, and I'll cover the good and the bad and decide if you should play it or pass on it. Now, some quick reasons I decided to play Twin Snakes over the original were for the updated graphics and movement. I never really liked the Metal Gear Solid franchise, but I always wanted to. Time and time again I tried to jump into the original, but it just felt so clunky. I hated the controls, and I couldn't invest myself in the story due to the outdated graphics. I wanted to experience the games in order, and I found out about Twin Snakes. I mean, look at the difference here, it is night and day. Even if you don't like Twin Snakes, if you're a Metal Gear fan, I'm sure you can appreciate someone finding an interest in the series. Now truthfully, I had to push myself before I genuinely felt interested in the game. The controls, while updated, still didn't feel that good or click with me right off the bat. I didn't like the fact that you were only able to run and crawl. Most modern games give the option to crouch, and right off the bat, running caused the guards to hear me and thus instantly went from stealth to an all-out brawl seconds into the playthrough. There goes the element of surprise. In this game, you have to be stealthy. You don't want to be seen because you can't shoot your way through. The enemies are never ending, so you'll either die or try to run to the next area so they quit looking for you. Speaking of the enemies, AI tended to be unpredictable. It was hard to tell what they would hear or where they would see you. Sometimes I would hide in plain sight and they would see me, other times they wouldn't. This caused me to either just run past guards to the next area or shoot them all in the face so I could look around. Something that was cool is if you ended up shooting them, you'd hear the radio asking why they hadn't responded, thus sending back up to investigate. I did appreciate that feature. The overhead camera angle limited your view of the surrounding areas and caused me to get spotted or die more than a handful of times, even later in the game. But these limitations forced me to rethink the way I was playing and use the radar more than the environment. Later, I got comfortable and appreciated the simple user interface and switching through equipment quickly, showing only what was necessary as well as the camera and control themselves. The biggest factor for me to continue to push through all of this became the story itself. Twin Snakes adds a lot more cutscenes, over 4.5 hours total, sometimes feeling like a movie on its own. In short, Snake is sent to Shadow Moses with nothing but a pack of smokes to stop a terrorist group full of former colleagues. He's to stop the launch of Metal Gear Rex, a nuclear weapon that could cause an all-out war and save a few people on his way. This is close to the actual briefing you're told at the beginning of the game. The player knows just as much as Snake does, which later turns out to be nothing. This connected me as a player to Snake, making me feel as if I were really him. As the story unfolded, I became more and more eager to find out what was really happening through the twists and turns. And while some of the new cutscenes were over the top and sometimes laughable, I feel like it helped keep my interest in the game, because sometimes there's just way too much dialogue. The game goes into extreme detail, and often you watch a cutscene or listen to a codec call just to walk a few feet right into another. There were a few times I just skipped through the codec calls because I just didn't care. Most of the bosses were pushovers and could be taken out within a matter of minutes or even seconds, but there were still a few that took multiple attempts. Each fight was memorable and was tackled in different ways. Every member of Foxhound had character and different personalities that I can recall perfectly even while writing this. The entire game you're basically traversing between bosses with small sections of exploration between. This shows how level design is great. Because there's not a ton of variation between the different areas, it looks how you think a military base would. But it's made interesting with meticulous layout and detail. It adds to the immersion, making me believe that you are in Alaska, on a military base, and that this place could exist somewhere in the world. All of it is complemented by great sound design and ambience that made me just stop and appreciate this game even existed. From the clanking of Snake's footsteps on the metal to the rain outside, this game created an atmosphere that pulled me out of reality and straight into the world of Metal Gear. Now I know it seems like I'm being rather negative, but underneath all of these complaints is a brilliantly written and well-crafted story. The original game is around 25 years old, and Twin Snakes is close to 20. It's amazing that this is still one of the best stories I've experienced in a video game. You can feel the love and hard work everywhere throughout. Hideo Kojima is a lover of film, and it's one of the key aspects from the very beginning. The credits are still rolling as you're taking your first steps onto the island, and after the final credits roll, you'll be excited to experience the next game in the series. Give this game a chance and play it, you will thank me later.